I think roadsters as we know them today are probably going to cease to exist in the not too distant future. As cars are getting bigger and heavier, particularly with electric motors instead, the essence of a car that is meant to be just fun for taking around corners and enjoying is starting to disappear. So today we're going to look at 5 that are some of the best you can get your hands on for under £40,000. That's a lot of money in the roadster class, but they are still great cars for that price range. Do hit like and subscribe if you're new here, and without further ado, let's get straight into it. Let's get started with one of the nicest 981 boxes you can get into, the GTS, which is a great looking, great sounding and great driving roadster built to be a step down from the Spider, but still mad quick. That's thanks to its 3.4 litre flat 6 engine, which puts out 325 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 4.8 seconds, which is a very decent starting point for this video. That engine is very significant for why I chose this car for this video, as I could have gone for the more recent 718 within our price range, but you'll only get the turbocharged flat 4 for our money. I'm personally a huge fan of how a flat 6 engine sounds, not that a turbo flat 4 sounds bad, I mean the Impreza definitely makes do, but with the roof down and a nice free flowing exhaust, a flat 6 sings on a different level, so why waste that opportunity in your convertible? The GTS took over from where the 987 Spider took off as the range topping boxer in the lineup until the Spider came along, just in this case without the Spider looks. It is a slightly longer car with the different front and rear bumpers, which are more reminiscent of those you'll find on the Cayman GT4, and it comes as standard with features like Porsche active suspension management, sport chrono, dynamic engine mount, sportier seats and a sportier exhaust too. Effectively it's a more aggressive looking top spec 981 Boxster S in terms of spec, give or take a few options. It is 14 brake horsepower more powerful than the S though, and reviews have been exceptionally positive about how well it handles out on the roads. I definitely felt that the handling was excellent in the 981 Cayman S, so this definitely checks out with the extra features on this. It's a properly cool roadster for the money in a world where I think the Boxster has very much cemented its place as its own desirable offering in a different way to its Cayman sibling. These start at around £34,000 and 40k will get you a 2014 model with around 40,000 miles on the clock. Engines are known to be solid on these, with only a few owners having actual failures. Exhaust valves sometimes get stuck and those fancy engine mounts have failed for some. Next up we have the new Toyota Supra's twin, the BMW Z4 M40i, and the two cars are built on the same platform, share the same engine and many other parts, as they came as a joint venture between BMW and Toyota. That's no bad thing either, by the way, and not just from a reliability perspective. Toyota have often worked with other brands to support them with their development of a car or two, and they were in fact credited as a key driving force behind Porsche's growth into being a more efficient and effective manufacturer, providing the brand with some better practices for building good cars. So working on the M40i I would consider to be a positive, and I personally think Toyota learned a thing or two from BMW, given the multiple GR cars that have arrived on the market since this Supra M40i collaboration. The M40i though comes with a 3 litre turbocharged inline-6 engine which makes 335 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 4.4 seconds with a nice sound too. I think of it a little bit like a convertible Supra. If you've been in both you'll absolutely see the similarities, particularly with the interior and infotainment system. But that's definitely a good thing. The car has 50-50 weight distribution for handling and dropped 50 kilograms of weight compared to its previous generation, though it is still quite portly at 1,600 kilograms curb weight, not quite the sub 1,000 kilogram roadster vibes of old, but then it is a far more luxurious and capable car for day-to-day use than a car like my MX-5. It's also more practical. I've seen a set of golf clubs fit in the boot, and it's fast as well, with the torque really hitting well in them. The reviews do typically mention that the Boxster is a more complete car when it comes to the handling department. That's not to say that it handles badly, it's just not as focused on handling as cars like the Boxster or MX-5. These start at around £27,000, making it the cheapest car on the list, and 40k is enough to get you a 2022 model with 15,000 miles on the clock, so it's also the newest car. It's been pretty good on reliability so far, helped of course by the fact that Toyota supported the build, but the car has had some infotainment glitches. The Series 3 Elise is an unreal car. By this point Lotus had pretty much perfected the concept of building a roadster that is insanely fun to drive around on the roads with just the right amount of power to make you feel like a hero when driving driving it, and that's what the Elise is all about, pure driving pleasure. They also benefit from Toyota as well, like the M40i, with a Toyota engine block to increase the reliability of the car over the Rover K series engines of old. That meant in the right spec you'd be getting a 1.8 litre supercharged inline-4 block, which puts out 217 brake horsepower, the lowest on this list, but that's still more than enough to get the car to 60 in 4.2 seconds thanks to it being so lightweight. Now, we spoke about the 1,600 kilogram curb weight of the Z4 M40i. Well, the Elise comes in at 866 kilograms, almost half the weight. So though it has just over 100 fewer horses, it massively outperforms its much weightier rival. Typically, you'll be getting a Sport 220 within our price range, which replaced the Elise S, the first supercharged version of the Series 3. The Sport 220 lost even more weight over the S and actually gained greater fuel economy over the previous models. But these aren't interesting for their fuel economy, they're interesting for how they handle. If fun is all you care about in this video, buy the Elise, case closed. It will be the most fun on track, the most fun on B roads, and the most confidence-inspiring one to drive fast. That said, it might also be the least fun for day-to-day driving, so if you're someone who likes to be comfortable driving your roadster down to the shops, this might not be the right choice for you, as that stripped out basic interior is not one for people who like luxury. £30,000 will get you into a Series 3 and 40k will get you a nice 2018 model that's done around 8,000 miles. These are known to be generally pretty reliable, like the BMW, helped by their Toyota engineering. I've said it before, but one of the main complaints I see owners make is that when you do need to replace parts, they are pretty costly from Lotus. So before we get into the final two cars, I wanted to hear your thoughts. Do you think the Roadster class will continue into the electric world? I've seen the MG one, I've seen the Polestar one as well. I'm sure we'll have some form of Roadster, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on what types of Roadsters those will be. Taking second on this list is a car that I had the pleasure of driving around on track, and I can tell you firsthand it is monstrously fast. The Mercedes SL63 AMG really is a fun convertible cruiser to bash around in, though I will mention that compared to many of the other cars on this list, it does feel a bit heavy when driving it, partially because it is even more heavy than the Z4 we spoke about earlier. I found that it did grip nicely though when you did push it, but it wasn't quite as dynamic as you might hope. It didn't make you feel as much of a hero as an Elise does, for example, and it isn't as balanced as a Boxster. However, when you get a chance to open it up on corner exit, my word does it pick up. The power is relentless, and even in the corners I love how the seat bolsters inflate to keep you in place. I would just say that it's more of a Grand Tourer than it is an MX-5 Roadster style fun. That performance is thanks to its 5.5 litre twin turbocharged V8 engine, which makes 556 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 4.1 seconds, so my sentiments around it being relentless start to make a lot more sense. The interior is a lovely place to be, luxurious and comfortable, and with the hardtop convertible roof, it's perfect for both summer and winter, as you're less worried about maintaining a soft top roof through the winter. When you then add the history of SLs before and after this one, you are joining a nice lineage of amazing Grand Tourers in a car that almost looks exotic enough to the right people. It's anonymous enough to fade into the background somewhere like central London, where there are plenty of far more exotic pieces of precious metal, and it's shouty enough to look the part when Grand Touring around the French Riviera, for example. They're listed anywhere from around £28,000, while 40k gets you a 2016 model with around 30,000 miles on it. These have been actually really good on reliability so far, with no super common engine issues to shout home about. The body is also pretty good, and though there is a lot of tech that could go wrong, again, they've been pretty decent. Taking the top spot on this list is probably my favourite sounding car of the five, and not one I have ever personally considered despite it being incredibly quick. It's the Audi TTRS from the third generation TT, meaning it is in fact the final generation TTRS, a sad thought. That sound I mentioned comes from its 2.5 litre turbocharged inline-5 engine that makes 394 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 3.4 seconds, so despite having over 150 brake horsepower less than the SL63, it's quicker, just simply due to it being more lightweight and having all four wheels putting the power down to the roads. The sound is 100% the thing that sets this car apart, as Audi are arguably the kings of the inline-5 block. I'm sure some people will shout Volvo at me, but nothing for me beats a Group B rally Audi Quattro S1E2 making noise in a forest. I'd happily sit and watch that all day. So then being able to drop the roof on the TTRS means you get that soundtrack encompassing you completely, and with the right exhaust on it, these can really sing. The rest of the job is pretty similar to the Coupe TTRS though, with the same aggressive body kit, including that rear wing, the more sports focused interior, and even the option of all the Audi Sport performance parts, which I do think make these things look incredibly mean. The only negative to being a convertible really is the weight, as it is 90 kilograms heavier than the Coupe and 145 kilograms heavier than the Boxster S, which is one of its main competitors. The fact that it competes and holds its own against the Boxster S is great news though, and the third gen broadly was known to be much more pointed as a driver's car than the second gen's TTRS TTRS, which was often criticised for feeling a bit too heavy to be a real Porsche competitor. These start at around the 30k mark, and at 40k we'll be looking at a 2018 model with around 20,000 miles on the clock. This car has also been pretty reliable so far, as it is relatively new. Just look for an example with full service history and you should be pretty golden, and you'll be getting the last of its kind too. And so there you have it, some of the best roadsters money can buy. If you want to see some more roadster at a cheaper price range, then click up here, subscribe as well down here. Huge thanks to the patrons for their support, and to you as well for watching. I'll see you in the next one.